Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I'm really pumped you're joining me today because we are going to unpack something that could fundamentally flip how we interact online completely upside down. We're diving into this fascinating manifesto published by Linksbreed Research called the UIID Manifesto, Restoring Digital Sovereignty in Web4. This paper makes a really bold, systemic argument. The foundational pillar of our entire online interaction, our digital identity, is currently under a massive attack. And the crazy part? The way we've been logging onto the internet for the last 30 years is exactly what's putting us in danger. So, I have to ask, is the era of the email login officially over? I mean, think about it. Every single day, multiple times a day, you type in an email address and a password to access your bank, your social media, your work portals. It's totally automatic, right? We don't even blink. But the researchers at Linksbreed are asking us to stop and really question this everyday tool. They argue that this legacy authentication method is actually the primary vector for some of the biggest problems on the modern internet. Things like bot infiltration, deepfake proliferation, and just massive data harvesting. The era of the email login might genuinely be coming to an end.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the email identity crisis. Second, defining the UID. Third, exploring the human-only network. And finally, welcome to Web4. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this first section, the email identity crisis. This is really all about the fatal flaw of our current web. For like 3 decades now, email has been our internet passport. But let's be real, it was built for messaging, not security. The manifesto points out 3 massive fatal flaws here. First up is the infinite scalability of bots. Fun fact, actually, nearly half of all internet traffic today is literally just bots talking to other bots. Bad actors can generate millions of emails in seconds, creating these massive bot armies that skew public opinion and manipulate markets. Second is centralized vulnerability. Your passwords and emails sit on these massive centralized servers, which basically act like giant honeypots. One hacker breaches that one central database, and bam, millions of digital identities are stolen all at once. And third, and honestly this is absolutely crucial, there's a complete lack of proof of personhood. An email address merely proves that a digital inbox exists somewhere in the cloud. It absolutely does not prove that a living, breathing human being is sitting behind the screen.
Moving on to Section 2, defining the UIID. This is where we see a true paradigm shift in digital identity. So, if email is broken, what replaces it? Well, the manifesto introduces the UIID, which stands for Universal Integrated Identity. They define it as a sovereign digital anchor, and you really want to notice the difference here. Instead of relying on some disposable username or email sitting on a company's server thousands of miles away, the UIID resides directly on your physical hardware, on your actual device. You physically control it. You are the sovereign owner of that anchor. It's a total game changer.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it structurally works. The Linksbreed framework relies on 3 key architectural pillars. First is device-level sovereignty. Basically, the private keys you need to log in, they never actually leave your phone or computer. And because there is no central password database, there's literally nothing for a hacker to breach. Love that. Second is cryptographic validation. Every UUID is anchored to a decentralized ledger, making it 100% unique. It can't be duplicated or spoofed by AI-driven scripts. And the third pillar is something called zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKP. Okay, I know zero-knowledge proofs can sound incredibly technical, but the manifesto distills it beautifully with this quote, validation without revelation. Think of it like going to a club, and the bouncer checking your ID is blindfolded. They can't see your name, your address, or your photo, but they just magically see a green checkmark confirming you're old enough. That's what this cryptography does. Your device mathematically proves to a website, yes, this person is over 18, or yes, this person is a verified citizen, without ever actually revealing your real name, your address, or your birth date to the network. You validate the truth without revealing the underlying private data.
All right, Section 3, the human-only network. Let's talk about eradicating the bot crisis.
This is where you see this stark contrast in the economics of spam. In our current email-centric system, the cost to create a fake account is what? A fraction of a penny? Therefore, the scalability is endless. Bad actors can just automate millions of them. But under a UID mandate, everything flips. Because the identity relies on proof of personhood, like biometric binding or decentralized KYC, and because it's hardware-bound, the cost of account creation shifts to verified human effort. A single human cannot easily generate 10,000 accounts because, well, they don't have 10,000 physical phones and 10,000 distinct human faces. By changing the economics, the business model of the bot farm becomes entirely unsustainable. It simply collapses.
And when the bots collapse, something incredible returns to the internet. The Linkspreed Manifesto calls it the truth premium. Platforms utilizing UIID can basically guarantee that every single interaction, every like, every share, every view, every comment is absolutely human certified. We get to return to a high-trust environment. Authentic metrics actually mean something again, and the paper notes that both advertisers and everyday users will naturally flock to these ecosystems because they know they are engaging with real, authentic people.
But for this to really work, the power of the UUID relies on its universality across what the researchers call the Atrium multi-app network. Moving beyond just a single platform, the UUID acts as a standard across all connected social networks. Because of this, it creates a unified reputation score. Now, the authors are very careful to clarify this point. If a user gets banned for malicious, bot-like behavior on one app, their UUID carries that history over to the others. The text explicitly states this is not meant to be some kind of social credit system, but rather a tracker of behavioral integrity. It forces a return to accountability, a concept that the complete anonymity of disposable email addresses eroded away a long time ago.
Let's move to our final section and see how this builds into the bigger picture. Welcome to Web 4 and the transition from Web 2.0. The manifesto highlights a really stark contrast here. In Web 2.0, the web we're using right now, you are the product. Your email is heavily weaponized as a tracking ID to follow you around the internet, harvest your data, and sell it to advertisers. But in the proposed Web 4 ecosystem, powered by UIID and Atrium, the dynamic completely flips. You own your identity. Through those zero-knowledge proofs we talked about, your data remains private, and most profoundly, your actual humanity, not some easily hacked password, becomes your access key. Web 4 is defined here as an internet of value, identity, and absolute trust. Which brings us to the powerful concluding argument of the manifesto. The era of the disposable digital self must end. The researchers make it incredibly clear. Email-based logins are a relic of an insecure past. We are facing a future flooded with the noise of artificial intelligence and the manipulation of highly sophisticated bad actors. To protect real human communication, we have to adopt secure, hardware-bound identities. So the UID isn't just pitched as a fancy new login screen. It is presented as a literal declaration of digital independence, a totally necessary step to ensure that the social in social media remains distinctly human. So, looking at the glaring vulnerabilities of our current system and the decentralized promise of Web 4, I'm going to leave you with this to think about. Are you ready to declare your digital independence? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. It's been a blast unpacking this with you, and I'll catch you on the next one.